we actually mean by agentic AI. And I'm sure Michael and Tom have a lot of thoughts on this as well, but it's quickly becoming one of those
Mm.
terms that I think people interpret like 5 different ways. And so I thought it would be good to just kind of level set. So in plain language, agentic AI isn't really about that generating summarized data or content, right? It's really more about using AI that can reason, evaluate those trade offs, and making recommendations based on context and goals. And so I think it really is in that prompt style and acts more like a teammate for you and can help you solve specific problems. But I also want to be clear, it's what it's not. And I think that's also important because there's a lot of misconception out there that it's not automation, it's not dashboards, it's not telling you what has happened. A lot of automation executes predefined rules, where agentic AI kind of sits in that middle lens and interprets what's happening, tests different scenarios, and helps leaders decide what to do and act. And I think at Hootsuite and Talkwalker in our world, we are really trying to shift our customers to think about instead of thinking about what they're saying, but actually think about what that means, why it's happening, and what's going to happen next, so that you can really get to that recommendation or that decision ready intelligence that's so critical. So it's really a value of efficiency, of course, but even taking it to the next level, it's that speed to insights. And I think that's where in marketing you're going to see some clear winners and losers from that perspective, because you really understand those signals first and how to act faster in that marketplace. So I'm going to kick us off now with a couple questions to the group. First, I would love to pose this question, Michael, to you and Tom, is what makes agentic AI meaningfully different than traditional AI or automation from that perspective?
So when I think about this, I think you actually kind of hit it on with your definition, Cara. Traditional automation follows preset rules. When X happens, do Y. So if you think about like email autoresponders or scheduled social posts, or even like working with things like Zapier or Make.com, it's very, very reliable, but extremely rigid. It only does exactly what you kind of programmed it to do. Dashboards follow the same suit, right? As you said, Cara, it shows you what happened. They pull data into like one place so you can spot trends, maybe make some decisions, but the analysis and action still depend upon you. With Agentic, it can reason through like multi-step problems, right? And adapt as it goes. So instead of like following a script, it can assess a situation, decide what to do next, course correct. You give it a goal rather than a strict set of instructions. And I think to make it more applicable to everyone on this call, right? Or an example would be like you're monitoring in Hootsuite Talkwalker, right? You're monitoring for competitor mentions or brand mentions, right? Traditional automation might alert you whenever a competitor is named. You can set that up very easily. A dashboard is going to show you what that mention looks like over time. But then agentic system, you could find the mentions, assess whether or not they're positive or negative, identify which ones matter, given any specific priorities you have, draft a response or briefing, and then flag anything that needs some type of human review. Essentially working through the problem the way a junior team member or an analyst might. And so that's the way I think about this, right? The key distinction is autonomy plus reasoning. Agentic AI doesn't just execute the tasks, right? It figures out what tasks need to get done and handles ambiguity along the way. So that's kind of how I like to frame it, little kind of building on what you had already mentioned, Cara.
That's a really good setup, Cara and Michael. I'd even take it back a little bit further, that people don't realize AI has been here forever, all the way back from machine learning and all of that. What really changed things and brought it to the forefront like that was generative AI. But now we're really past generative AI. So now if we look at agentics, building on or adding to the way you framed it, Michael, which I agree with all of that, is we sort of, and I look at it as, think of it as a team of agents plus humans doing work together. And you're absolutely right, Michael. Think of agentics as some agents in your team. They are autonomous. They can basically plan, decide, execute, act, make decisions, and run part of your organization and part of your functions and processes completely alone with the right setup and proper data input and human oversight initially set up. And then with that team, you'll have what I would call, I would lean more to like delegated AI, where it's running part of a process and it's giving you information and research and data that needs human insight and perspective. And then you're tying all of these different agents together into what we like to call an agentic operating framework, so that you have a team of humans, different agents in different areas, working all together to end help you execute and provide better quality and efficiency and speed to market with the things you're doing with agentic AI.
I love both those insights, Tom and Michael. And I would just like to dive deeper on this, because I think something you said is so critical that sometimes often looked like, oftentimes people think that agentic AI, generative AI, any AI is just a magic button that just gives you the insights that you need. But something that you both really honed in on in your answers was the human component. And I think that's so critical. Do you both think you could elaborate that and how that factors into creating more of that decision-ready intelligence, from that perspective?
I'll jump in quickly. I mean, decision-ready intelligence is that point where data stops being interesting and becomes usable, right? It tells a leader, in my mind, three things very quickly: what's changing, why it matters, and what to do next. So not a 40-slide readout. I mean, my team does do that. I do that. More like, here's the shift we're seeing. Here are the two likely drivers. Here's the risk if we ignore it. And here are the options if we act on it like this week or tomorrow. So in practice, it shows up almost as speed to insight. I know we're probably going to talk a little bit about that later, but it's kind of a parallel track. You're not waiting for a monthly report to confirm, what your team already feels in the market. You're getting very early signals in real time, pressure testing, translating them into some type of decision. The speed is the advantage because it lets you move while the window is still open. And I would just say it's quickly, not just faster reporting, it's tighter focus, right? Decision ready means the intelligence is already prioritized. Oftentimes you walk into a meeting, you present, you go through the findings, you take, there's a follow-up meeting and one after that and one after that, then you prioritize. This decision ready intelligence is essentially already prioritized with clear thresholds and recommendations attached, right? It's the difference between here's everything we found and here's what we should do Monday morning and what success looks like if we don't, and the risks of if we don't do it. So I think it's building on what Tom said. It's like having a team member work alongside with you as data is being gathered, pulled, and insights are being written.
The human behind the AI is the critical component in this. It's not going to replace in that scenario. It's going to feed.
Oh my goodness, Cara, it was like you were reading my mind. So some of you may have heard of Pascal Bornet, and he wrote the book around a while and framed up the idea of how do we become irreplaceable, both individuals and companies, in the time of AI, meaning what does AI do well and agentic AI versus what do humans do really well. And the way he framed it up was what he calls humix. And where people come into, like you were alluding to, Michael, is creativity, meaning true, genuine creativity, starting with that blank sheet and deciding where you go. Humans do that better than AI or agentic AI. Then you look at another key component of that is from that creativity to critical thinking, questioning the output, the summaries from AI or agentic AI, and thinking of all those pieces of the AI as different agents. So you get input from an agent, may or may not be exactly right. You need to layer on top of it the critical thinking. Make sure you have it set up. It's giving you good, accurate information, usable information that you can make decisions upon for your end-to-end business strategy. And then the third, and maybe the most interesting piece, is what he frames up as social authenticity. I'll give an example. Like we have a avatar that we call Sophia. That's basically giving information about AI and what it means for people. It's one of our, think of it as like an agent in our enterprise. But Sophia is an avatar. It's AI generated. She does not have that human empathy, that true human connection that adds upon. So think of all of these agents across things like Yeti, for example, as a tool and an agent within TalkWalker and Hootsuite. We use that for insights because goes through all of the data that we're looking at, trends around our brand. It can give us that good summary. That's kind of, it's reading, it's learning, it's generating. And we add on top of that, but that's one of the agents in our agentic framework.
Common questions that we're always getting is like, okay, what does that mean? There's an AI agent for everything in this point of time. And I think where, again, you're going to see winners from that perspective are the ones that allow you to easily connect various different agents together. We're calling that the agent verse here at Hootsuite Talkwalker, where we're trying to connect different partners, teammates for different elements of the actual process from that perspective. Tom and Michael have been building out their own agent verse from there. But what I think is really cool is to think about the agent verse of the workflow of the objective you're trying to achieve. Is it content? Is it creating and publishing content? Is it creating and publishing an advertisement? Is it generating an effective communication strategy? Those all need specific agents that work together with a human to execute from that perspective. So not necessarily all in Hootsuite Talkwalker, but partnering together with other tools and technology to execute on that workflow.
And I was just going to say about what you framed it, Cara, is what did you call it? Your agentic?
Agent verse.
Agent verse.
What we do is, as an organization, we have put together what we call an agentic operating framework, and it takes clients through the design, build, and then maintain model, if you will, design, build, run. Amazingly, we've done that really well for our clients. Internally, that's probably a next step that we're really getting smarter about, is how do we then internally take that expertise that we've smartly first focused on the market and clients and consumers and bring it into our teams, tens of thousands of people across our organization, to bring and build an agentic operating framework for us that works. And like you were talking about, Michael, connecting those different agents, and as I see it, those different agent teams into, interestingly enough, I heard Bill McDermott, who happens to be the CEO of ServiceNow, he was talking at Davos the other day, and he's talking about basically what they look at it as the AI fabric that lays across an entire organization. So we're challenged right now in our marketing and social media team to action that next stage, like Michael was talking about, connecting our agents and the data and the systems together into one agentic operating system or framework.
I mean, ultimately, like for me, and managing, at an agency, I work on a multitude of different accounts. Our teams support different accounts, and we get email messages, we get Teams messages. I mean, ultimately, there's going to be a day very soon where there's going to be a request that comes into my email or Teams, and that is going to activate an agent to then start the process, right? Is it a media analysis request? Is it a GEO request? Programming it to go to the right tool and start the process, maybe even deliver the data while I'm in a meeting, or at least get the data set up and the process started, all from an email, because the speed to insight matters in situations like this. And for me, we're humans, right? We go out, we go to lunch, we turn off our notifications, we have to close our computers, but that doesn't mean the world stops. And clients still expect responses, and they still, if there's a crisis happening, it's everybody needs to be focused on that. And so when you're dealing with things like email overload or Teams messages, I would love to think about an agentic workflow on triggering some type of action, right, based on a request from a client or an internal team. Like, I see that very soon in the future, which I think would help all of us in different ways, because of just, as humans, we do need to take a break and step away and live life.
If someone would please create the AI agent to manage my inbox and Slacks, I'm signing up today.
Oh my God, I can't tell you. One of the things I wanted to just mention was we wanted to talk a little bit about where is Agentic adding value right now. So what you guys just led into is we happened to launch in the travel and transportation industry, basically for a logistics company, had the same problem, like managing the emails across all of their chains. So basically, we built an agentic system that handles that end to end. So it's looking at the intent and the sentiment and the purpose behind an email across the whole thing. Some it can answer autonomously, and others it's basically routing and feeding to the right expert that has to jump into it. And basically, it was a significant improvement in getting through all of that volume of information and requests coming into their entire logistics network faster and getting them answered more effectively. And even the autonomous ones we're hitting a 90+ correct right answer pretty soon, like right out of the gate. So that's a great and kind of funny example you led into.
Perfect, honestly.